Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Uncharted The Lost Legacy crushing difficulty video walkthrough. This is the 8th mission, or chapter, and it is called Partners. Or as Shiva says, "Thanks, partner," which, whenever I hear that word, all I think of is that line from Resident Evil 5. I have no idea why I have that association, but I do, you know? It's one of those fun things about the human brain, and mine in particular. So this is a very tricky level, guys. This is probably the hardest level in the game. And I say probably because there's a lot of stipulations as to why that could be. Everybody has different abilities, everybody struggles with different things, and there's a lot of randomness in this particular sequence, but there is a firefight coming up, which I think is the hardest in the game. And I'll tell you why. So, fundamentally, you start with no weapon. Any moment where you have to procure a weapon to begin the encounter is going to be more dangerous than having something preset up. In this instance, it's not difficult to get a weapon, but it's difficult to get a weapon and then be effective with what follows, because your weapons that are on offer are not the best, and they don't have the ammo to really sustain you for the full sequence. Combine this with an environment that is designed to essentially shit on you. And most areas of this game are designed in such a way that there is a wealth of potential places for you to go. It's got a lot of verticality, there's a lot of landmass, there's a lot of cover, there's a lot of awkward angles. This is a very movement-based third-person shooter because you're never really safe in this game. The power positions have been essentially removed in a lot of instances, and when they're there, we use them and they're good. But when they're not, it's that more amorphous, that progressive, that dynamic battlefield that Uncharted 4 was moving towards. And in this video, you're going to see an instance of a room that doesn't really offer that, and then a sequence at the end where, because of the way it's designed, I can actually break the AI in a lot of ways, which I'm going to discuss after the encounter, because that's a different fight. But this room coming up doesn't give you any of the options that any of the other ones do, and it's really, really strange, and it's the only instance of the game when I noticed this, and it might have happened previously, but I never came across it. You are in a very small environment, and to your left there is a bit of a platform, and then there's a bit of a cavern past it with a walkway and some caves, and then to your right there is another walkway that joins onto that cavern that's a bigger cavern to the other side. So you just have these two rooms sharing certain egress points, and regardless of where you go in that room after you kill the initial bunch of guys, or if you don't kill them and you just run in, you will trigger a dynamic spawn that puts the enemies bang on the option that you ventured down. So if you go all the way to the left and you hook that left and go into the caves, they're going to spawn in that left cave. If you go to the right, they're going to spawn there. If you kill all the enemies, they will spawn traditionally closest to you with the initial spawn, and then the other spawn of the heavies on the other side. And I found that the best way to approach this is, of course, distance, but it's not to push. You can push initially to try and get a nice cluster grenade, but after that, I do not recommend being crazy and rushing into, unconventional cover, because it leads to getting spawned on. And I have literally witnessed enemies spawn, and you can't do much in this game when it's that close, because unless you've got a shotgun or a grenade launcher, which you are going to get a shotgun, but it's hit and miss on its detection up close on more than one opponent. I don't see a world where you're going to be able to get these kills. So what it leads to is, it leads to you being quite defensive at the beginning, or being really offensive, but never moving into that second area, because if you move into that second area, things get really tricky. So the strategy that I'm going to be going with is I'm going to be using the furthest piece of cover to let them come to me, and then to use whatever I've got to survive. And the difficulty comes from the grabbing enemies, which we haven't really seen in this game. So here's the shotgun guy. He's going to be your source of a weapon. You'll either get 3 or 4 shells depending on whether or not the game's been retarded, then pick up the Raffica for 18 bullets, and then get behind this piece of cover. So from this piece of cover, there's also a piece of cover to your left that you can use if it gets bad, and there's those blue barrels there that you see Nadine moving between. The only real issue you're going to have at this point is grenades, clipping on your partners, because they're a nightmare for that, and you do not run past them smoothly because there's a whole host of animations that's trying to proc and it won't let it happen, and being rushed by something dangerous. So I come over to here, I pick up that grenade. There is always 2 grenades to be grabbed here, I think, or maybe more. And you'll notice I have a 3 stack of grenades, and I have these weapons. So I pick up this tank, I'm going to chuck it over by where I'm going to be, because the enemies are going to come to me, I'm not going to come to them. And if I can hit one of these tanks, I might be able to get multiple people. And I know 2 heavies are going to come this way, and both of them have shotguns. Their shotguns are incredibly dangerous. If they get too close, it's game over. And when this happens, there's also going to be enemies who can grab me and force me out of cover. So if they force me out of cover and the shotgunners are there, it's game over. So I'm trying to set up a bit of a defensive perimeter here before I take out this guy. When he dies, there is a spawn coming from that cave to my right. And what you want to do if you can get really lucky here is if the grabber comes this direction, blow him up. Then, if he lands close enough to you after being blown up and drops his submachine gun, pick that up because it gives you a lot of bullets, it's very good, and now we get to look at the other grabber on the left there, the guy on that balcony to my right up where my watermark is, and the heavy that is moving slowly towards me, and the inevitable heavy that's behind him. So, he doesn't always move that far to our left, he normally goes where I've put that acetylene tank thing. So right now, we're not getting the best pattern on this particular moment, but he has no helmet on. So I'm going to chuck a grenade at my feet to get rid of him. It doesn't work, and then we go wrong, like Terminator 1 Arnold Schwarzenegger, and put him down with the Spaz 12. There's a couple of guys stacking up there, so I chuck a grenade to try and get a multi-kill, and then he chucks a grenade at me, so go immediately across here. And then just kind of see what's happening. We still haven't been rushed by the grabber, so he's definitely going to come at some point. And we've just got a bunch of the Red Hat guys. Red Hat guys, not the biggest threat. The grenades are dangerous, they're quite active in the battlefield, but for the most, you should be okay. This is the biggest threat as well. Did you see how I got knocked out of cover in a stun state because of a grenade? And then this guy's rushing me from off camera? You need to prioritize both heavies and the grabby guys. Everybody else is gravy. You can deal with them however you want. You need to be aware that there will always be 2 heavies and 2 grabbers. So, did you notice how we killed the first heavy guy and it was quiet and we didn't know where he was and then he came flanking? You need to be cognitive of this battlefield. And right now, I think there's only 3 of the Red Hat guys left. I think we ended up killing one of the grabbers in the firefight, in the chaos of the event. And all I've done... Oh no, he's here. Did you see him? Did you see him drop down? There he is, and look at him running. This character is so much more dangerous than anything else in this game. It makes me really grateful that he's nowhere else really in this campaign, but at the same time, if he was, it would have been harder. And I'm kind of an advocate for making the game difficult, but making it difficult in interesting ways. I don't think lockpicking in the middle of an active battlefield while something's looking for you that's got incredible awareness is difficulty. I think that's tedium and bad design. I think this enemy is everything they needed to put in some sequences to really mess up your day. Because let's face it, by having those 2 grabbers in this fight becomes the hardest in the game. Because they add a dynamic you don't see, and it is equal unpredictability on top of the unpredictability, and equally unsafe cover in cover that's already incredibly unsafe. So they're wonderful as an enemy. You know, I hate them with every fibre of my being, and I wish that they'd, you know, get scoliosis and go into a surgery one place and accidentally get like a Mexican surgeon who's a murderer, and then he just chokes them with the anaesthetic and they never wake up and we never see them again. But that's not going to happen because that's so ridiculous. But as an enemy, they're fantastic. And then when people start talking after that last guy goes down, you know you've done. And it doesn't look like much, does it? You might not have even noticed that firefight if you got a good pattern. But I can tell you right now, guys, I've died a few times here, and I died in circumstances where I felt like the game was pushing me. And when you feel a game push you in that right way, you know it's well designed. I think this is a fantastic firefight for every reason that I normally would criticize. The idea of moving into this cave system here and having a spawn, like if we ran up here, they'd spawn in these alcoves and they'd be all around you. It's so evil in a lot of ways, but it forces you into this situation that makes it really interesting to me. So as much as I can say that this fight can be a little bit unfair if you get awkward, you know, RNG, it does have a couple of bullshit moments if you get awkward shit again, but fundamentally, it's just unfair enough to feel like a really, really good amount of challenge, I think. If every firefight in this game was like this one, in the amount of challenge it can present if it goes a specific way, I think the game would have been incredibly challenging. And I think it would have been more rewarding. But as it stands, I think that's the toughest execution of the player that's required. Not necessarily, insanely difficult in the grand scheme of video games, but from what's called upon you as a player there, it's way higher than some of the other encounters. You can take the other encounters at your own stead. That one you can't. That one you really have to be aware, alert, and understanding everything that's happening. Because one mistake leads to death. And that's what a hardest difficulty should be. It should punish mistakes. It should force you out of your comfort zone and punish mistakes. And the sequence that's coming up in a moment after these puzzles that we're about to do and some of the climbing is a sequence that doesn't really punish mistakes. It's just really badly designed, and I don't like it. And I need to talk about it because, unfortunately, guys, you're not getting the first piece of footage I recorded. So you remember earlier on in this project where I mentioned that I got the chopper fight one attempt, and I was really glad because it combined both stealth and what happens when stealth is broken. I think I even tweeted about it, which is annoying now because it's not true anymore. Well, that piece of footage had the same problem that I've had with one other piece of footage, and I don't know why it's done this. My feelings are, maybe I unplugged my PVR while it was still rendering and generating the file, so the audio got scrambled somehow, but for the most, I've had no problems with the PVR 2, and I've had 2 instances now where it's fucked me a little bit. Maybe it's just random luck, I don't know, but all I know is, it plays the video in it's about 60% slower than it should be, and the audio is twice as fast. So the audio finishes halfway through the video, and you've got no way of going back and getting the other bit of audio because it doesn't exist anymore, and then the video's in slow motion. It's very strange. I've never seen it before. In all my time capturing with different capture devices, I've never seen this particular problem. So I had to go back and re-record this, and I recorded it 3 times before I got something I was happy with, because it wouldn't go the way I wanted it to for reasons that are just kind of crazy. So my strategy, guys, is spot on. It works. It's great. The problem is the game. And you might be thinking, alright DSP, where did you come from? And of course it comes from, Washington, because he constantly talks about it, along with being Italian and all that other shit. But no, I just had to mention him, guys, because I don't think I've mentioned him yet, and people need to represent that we still poke fun at Mr. Phil. But silliness aside, there are 2 parts of this fight coming up that seem really strange to me. Lockpicking a certain box is incredibly difficult with the helicopter because unless you break line of sight and lose the helicopter, which at times the AI just will not let you go, he knows where you are all the times, and for whatever reason he just continually sees you even when you can't be seen and he's not seen you for a long time. So there's the flippant AI of the chopper pilot, which can be frustrating or great depending on what your luck is, or depending on where you stand, even though I don't think it matters too much because I've had instances of both. On top of that, you have this incredibly fiddly lockpicking to get these RPGs. To kill this thing, you need to hit it 4 times with RPGs. Just bear that in mind, guys. 4 RPGs. I've had one recording where I hit it with 3 and it skipped to the end. Don't know how I did that. Did nothing different, but for whatever reason it took 3. I'm not going to use that footage because you're going to need 4 and I'm going to do it in 3 and it's going to look weird. So I'm using a different one. And then on top of that, you have this idea where you have to hook the chopper at the end using your grapple mechanic, but the prompt on the grapple is sporadic. So you can go out of cover, mash the grapple button, and it never turns up, and some wanker that's just spawned in because they love their lackeys kills you from a distance, and you have to do it all over again because there's no checkpoints. It's kind of preposterous. There's so many angles to this fight that I hate, and it's unfortunate because I think the idea of it is okay. And I do think that if you didn't have to lockpick the fucking boxes and you just had to open them and maybe the opening animation was quite slow, I think the fight would be fine. But it's not. As it stands, it's just kind of frustrating. It's stealth that gives you the illusion of stealth, but you can't actually do it stealth, I don't think. Because you have to shoot the chopper with a rocket, and the moment you fire a rocket, everybody knows where you are. So unless you kill everybody in the room stealth assassination style, that's the only real way you can stealth it. And then what happens, guys, is when you shoot the rocket at it, he calls reinforcements, so he spawns more dudes. And every time you shoot a rocket, he spawns more dudes. You shoot 4 rockets, that's a lot of dudes. So you have a choice right now of how you want to approach this. Do you stealth all those people, get a rocket, hit him, get defensive again, get rid of the people, get a rocket, hit him, repeat ad nauseum until you win? Or do you do it as I'm going to show you, which is, instead of doing the stealth, I'm going to cause a ruckus because I have a very nice exploit that helps you stay alive if you can aim. You have to be able to aim and you have to have your head on your shoulders. If you've got those 2 things, you'll do just fine. Cause a ruckus, get rid of all the dudes, then, instead of picking up one RPG and shooting him, I'm going to pick up all 3. and then have one of them really close, because you can't carry 4, and you need 4 to kill him. And what we're going to do is we're going to shoot all 4 rockets in quick succession to completely skip all the needless lackey spawns, and then we're going to hopefully get lucky and grapple the chopper without having to kill any of the lackeys. Do you see what I mean when I'm talking about this fight? This fight is garbage for so many reasons that are nothing to do with your input in it, because there's so many random variables. And it's another one of those Uncharted fights where it's a massive open area with a million places to go, a million rooms to go in, a million pieces of cover, a million bloody bushes, and about 15 enemies to fight. So it's kind of everything I don't like about Uncharted 4 represented in this game. But to give you some solace, I don't want to scare you with this. Don't worry, guys, you'll do it. It's fine. It's not that difficult. I got it first attempt, you know? It's not that bad. This is nowhere near as difficult as, was it Chapter 11, that stealth mission in Uncharted 4? That is way difficult than anything in this game. If you can do that, you can do this. But here's my path, guys. Run along the concrete, jump off, pick up the silence pistol, climb up this. We're going to get onto this corrugated roof up here on top of the warehouse. That was a mistake because for whatever reason she fell off. I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to jump forward and she jumped off. So I'm wasting time, but it's okay. Once you get on top of here, you're going to peek out on the top right hand corner and you're going to shoot the guy in the head who has the rocket launcher. Remember that man. He's going to drop a weapon you need to pick up. Then we're going to jump off the roof into the grass so no one can see us, and then we're going to climb through this window. Once we're here, go into cover, roll across here, and what happens next is kind of random depending on what the AI does. The only thing that's consistent here is this guy who's patrolling in front of me. I noticed that I get an armoured guy here, so if I can chuck a grenade and get rid of some of his armour, I'm going to do it. Grenades are not a necessity for my strategy, but if you have them, good job, dude. It's going to help. So I'm thinking, what do I do right now? Do I continue on here, or do I chuck the grenade? Spoiler alert, I'm going to chuck the grenade. Be very careful though, the moment you chuck grenades, sometimes the enemies know where you are. I can't remember if this is one of the evidences of that, because I recorded this level 3 times in a row before I got the one I was happy with. So there's the grenade. On his feet as well, takes his helmet off. And I'm standing up so they know where I am. So I punch this guy, and I'm going to jump onto this bit of foliage, and I'm going to go into this container over here. Normally, what I would do is I would have shot the guy to the left, gone onto the grass here, shot the guy on the roof, and then hacked the RPG container over here to save me doing it later. But instead, welcome to my cheesy strategy for this fight. So come inside this train cart, go into cover against this right-hand corner, and then from this corner, watch both sides. If you've got a good headset, you can generally hear a lot of stuff, but all you need to do is look for an enemy and put them down. This is how this works, guys, yeah? Your 2 teammates are so obsessed with supporting you, but doing it dynamically, that they can't settle down. So they're going to run around like idiots going into cover on every single surface you can imagine, and when any enemy gets close, they will start shooting it, call it out, or start fighting it. And in the interim of any of those things happening, you can shoot them and kill them. You cannot get challenged here by the AI who's trying to kill you because they can't figure out where you are. Because they know where you are, they're going to stack up on the side of this container and the back of it, but they don't flank around it as you think they would, because they can't rush you effectively. Their scripting doesn't work that way. So what will happen is they're going to do the same thing as your allies. They're going to try pushing up and get into fights with Nadine and with Sam, and then you can shoot them while they're fighting, or your team might kill them. And all that's going to happen here is the AI is going to struggle to get to where we are, and then they're going to flank like that guy just did. So right now, this is the only time you're in any danger, when anyone's on these corners, and then all you have to do is move yourself. Move yourself a little bit, check your sides, kill anybody who's there, and then just look out for them. And if you can get headshots, and if you're a good shot, this is dead quick, and it's not difficult at all. And the threats are as follows, guys. There are 2 men with shotguns. They're dangerous. Get rid of them. We got good spawns on them and we killed them early. There are 2 heavies, 2 heavily armoured guys. You will never see any more, even though more exist. There's 1 guy with a Desert Eagle who just died just then. There's 1 guy in a helmet, and then there's 1 guy in like a jumper. That tends to be the enemies that are going to push us. And this right now is 100% random. Sometimes they're idiots, sometimes they're a bit cleverer. But the only real threat here is if you don't kill them quickly. Like right now, because I didn't kill this guy quickly, this is quite dangerous. But I am confident in my ability to do this because this path where we're stood right now is very safe. And it's safe because the AI has trouble engaging you successfully. And if you run out of ammunition, pick up the guns that they're dropping. If anybody chucks a grenade in this side, run to the opposite side. The only threat on the opposite side is one laser sniper, and all you have to do is hug one of the corners and he can't see you. But because we got rid of the explosive guy, no one's going to shoot RPGs at us right now, and all we need to do is get rid of the 2 armoured snipers. So, one is on the bridge, and one is on the side bit to the right. The only threat at this point is if there's any dudes left, which I don't think there are, and this fucking chopper, who's garbage with his unlimited ammo, stupid bursts, god tier awareness, knows where you are through cover, just generally terrible AI. So, wait for him to fly away, come out here, and then use the right-hand side of this container to shoot enemies. If he starts hitting you, get back inside the train car, or you're gonna die. Because he doesn't do much damage, but if he hits you consistently, you will die. And then at this moment in time, all I'm doing is waiting for an opportunity to clear those 2 snipers, and when we've done that, we're gonna get the RPGs, and we've done. The only thing left to do then is to wait for the prompt for the grapple. And I get a little bit unlucky on that, but I'll show you how to deal with it, because that position I just showed is that strong. The enemies can't figure it out, and even when they do, you didn't see this in this video because it is random, but if they figure it out and Sam or Nadine are in that container with you, Sam's going to start fighting. Or they're going to try fighting you. So even if they get close, these really dangerous, crushing difficulty enemies, they try punching you, and all you have to do is press the counter buttons and break their grab, and then you beat them up and you've done and you've got a free gun. It's kind of crazy how well this spot works against how the AI and how the battles take place in this game. But hack that one, come over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the RPG on the roof. This roof can be shot through, so be very careful. The cover here is not very good. Pick up this RPG, drop off this roof, and get behind this container. If you do this correctly, she'll crouch down behind the container. And if she does this, it means the chopper doesn't know where you are. The moment Chloe crouches, it means that if you can stay hidden and keep something between you and the boss, he'll generally go away. If he doesn't, and this happens because the AI in this game is shitty at times, the best thing to do, you see that blue carriage to my left? Jump through the window and go into cover near the doorway. For whatever reason, he has a lot of trouble knowing that you're in there, and he'll go away. And all we need to do now, guys, is go back towards that corner that we were moving towards at the beginning of the fight, so we can lockpick that container, and inside of it will be the final RPG that we need to win. But you can't pick it up. So what we do is we shoot all 3, go grab the ammo, shoot the 4th, and then we wait until we get the opportunity to do the swing. And when this gets dangerous is because of the spawns that are going to happen when we hit the boss. And the spawn is a bunch of dudes, and I end up putting myself in a position where I don't have a weapon. So my advice to you is before you do this, make sure that you replace your pistol with something functional, because you're going to get attacked, and it can lead to bad things. So here he is. There's no checkpoint, by the way, guys. The only checkpoint is when you grapple the chopper. So if you die right now, you have to do all of this again. All the lockpicking, all the fighting. It's not a bad checkpoint because I feel like that's the way the game should work for a boss fight. But I just think that the way that boss fight works is shit. So here's the second hit. Going to cover. Here comes the third hit. Here come the spawning reinforcements. Go grab the next piece of ammo. Then go into cover and land the final hit if you can. There's the screen going dark, which means we're dying. There's him shooting me perfectly, even though he can't see me, because he knows where I am, because he's a stupid CPU. There's the final shot. So right now, quickly replace your rocket launcher for that Type 42 or whatever you can. And we're about to get assailed by people. There's a grenade, run to the other side now. Do not get hit by that shit, and then immediately get into cover, look around to see if you can see the threat, and then move away from it. I don't have any guns, so I can't fight back, so I'm up to the team right now. Nadine is doing her best to run around like an idiot, and Sam's actually firing, but he's not doing much. He isn't rushing, so we're not in danger. I'm going to go to the other side, because the other side is better for confusing the enemy AI. And all we're waiting for, I'm running out here and I'm mashing R2. Mash R2, look up into the sky, mash R2. If you start taking damage, go back inside the container. I start taking damage, back in the container. And I also get a gun, which helps, because there's going to be a dude that attacks me in a minute. Just there, see him through the grass? That is another part of this that's a little bit tricky. If you can't spot them through the foliage, you're going to have a tough time. So make sure you keep your eyes on people. There's a P90, pick that up, it's really good. And then we're going to do it again. So, mash R2, look up, wait for the prompt. Nothing, still no prompt, getting shot. Still no prompt, get back in cover. So the AI's talking about what we have to do. Maybe that unlocks the prompt. I don't know how the scripting works here, but the next time I go out, it's going to let me do it. So make sure you don't get killed by the minions while this is happening, because that would suck, right? Look up, mash, 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 and you'll see it in... Oh no, still no prompt. See what I mean? The prompt should be there every single time. It doesn't matter what's going on. 4 RPGs, insta-prompt. It's bullshit. I fucking hate this fight so much, because it doesn't work as good as it should. So I go back into being a defensive stance again, waiting on anybody else coming. You can see that there's people left because Sam's not aiming at the chopper, he's aiming at a human, or an enemy, sorry. So that's what tells me somebody's still alive, so I don't want to, you know, mess this up. There's a grenade getting chucked, so that confirms someone's still alive. So I'm going to be a little defensive because I don't want to mess up, I don't want to restart. And as soon as this next guy dies, I think he's in the on top of that. Oh, here he comes. There he is. So kill him, regen, and now try. Oh, there's another guy, kill him. So make sure he dies. And then right now, I think you might be able to do it. So there's the prompt. So potentially, you might have to kill all the people, but the reason I don't think that that's the case is because on the other attempts I didn't have to kill anybody, and it let me do this. And right now, you just got a checkpoint. So if you die immediately on this rope, which can happen, it's happened to me a lot of times, you'll be checkpointed on the rope. You don't have to do any of the garbage again, and that's the hardest level in the game done. So hopefully those strategies help you guys. Use your own strategies, incorporate some of my tips if they can help you out. If not, you know, just get through it any way that you can. It isn't a traditionally difficult fight. The reason it's hard is because it's poorly designed, I think, in a lot of ways. And I don't think it's very fun either. It's long, there's no checkpoint, there's a lot of that weird lockpicking garbage, there's a lot of weird detection on things, and it's very dynamic and very random because of that, and that makes it tough. So thank you for watching, and you take care now.